forever. Okay. All right. So I know in the flyer it said this afternoon was going to be on rabbit showmanship, and it is. But when I talked to Diane a few months ago when she asked me to come back and speak, I swear that I accepted like advanced showmanship. So if you are brand new in showmanship and you want to go to another class, I totally understand. I'm going to take this time and dive into some deeper thoughts on showmanship and some more like advanced tips that will help you to take it to the next level, whether that's at your local fair or whether that's going to convention. We talked about, got some faces in here that were in here this morning that may be interested in showmanship at the national level at convention. The things I'm going to talk about here in showmanship are geared towards that. These will help you to take it to a different level, okay? Does that sound good? All right, cool. So I'm not going to go through every step. I'm not going to demonstrate that. I'm going to expect that you guys already know how to do the basic stuff. And from a judge's perspective, I judge showmanship quite a bit. You know, being able to check teeth and eyes and read the tattoo, that's the easy stuff, right? And when you come down to judging, a lot of times kids get between 95 and 100 points. And those kids that are winning a showmanship competition, between first place and fifth place, there may be a difference of 2 or 3 points because the kids are that good. So we're going to talk about how to get those last few points, maybe that last 1 point, to take you over the edge to win a showmanship competition, all right? So it's the finer points, and of course, we're here today at the 39th Annual Massachusetts 4-H Rabbit Conference. It's an honor to be here. I'm from California. For this association to pay my way to be here and speak to you is an honor. I love coming back here to be part of something like this. What you have here going on this weekend is really magical. I don't know that there's many of these kind of events for 4-H and youth rabbit kids in the country. So you guys are very, very fortunate to have this. I'm from Connecticut originally. If you were here earlier, I gave my bio. I moved to California to go to high school. I went to college and studied animal science at a local university there. I stayed. It was 17 years ago. I raised rabbits and Angora goats. And I'm an ARBA judge since 2007. If you have ever read the Registrar Study Guide, I was the guy that started that thing a long time ago and gave it to the ARBA. And we're going to talk about how that will help you actually in this quest to become better at showmanship. There's a lot of knowledge and a lot of questions in there. I think that in advanced showmanship, when I judge kids, I test them and I ask them questions and I expect them to be almost like registrar or judge applicants. Okay? Because to become a licensed registrar or licensed judge, you have to know a lot of stuff, right? And the really cool thing about our hobby, the ARBA, is that age doesn't mean a whole lot in terms of your opportunity. When you walk into a rabbit show, and this is the magic behind our hobby, that you walk into a rabbit show, it doesn't matter how old you are, where you came from, where you went to school, how much money you have, what kind of job you have. You walk in a rabbit showroom and you are a rabbit person, and everyone around you is a rabbit person. And Randy, right? I mean, yep. How long have you been doing this?
45 years.
45 years, yeah. And how old are you? I'm just
52.
He's 50, yeah. So almost his entire life he's been doing this, right? I got started when I was 13. Believe it or not, that guy back there, Randy, he judged me in showmanship when I was like 13 or 14 years old at a rabbit show in Spencer, Mass. So we've known each other a long time. People that get into this hobby love it, and they stick around for a reason. It's a wonderful thing. Today's showmanship talk is going to be aired live, and it is right now, on a Facebook page I moderate. It's all about video education for rabbits and KVs in the ARBA, and that's facebook.com/The Rabbit Show Live. So if you haven't liked it or followed it, I recommend it because we try to put as many videos as possible up. These live ones are a little easier because I don't have to do any editing, but some of the things I do, they take 20 hours to edit for about a 2-minute clip. But today, you're going to get an hour and I don't have to edit it, and it's live.
Great videos.
It's already up there. So yeah, so you don't mind guys like that. It's all free. And I've had a lot of fun sharing knowledge with everyone because I'm here today because of wonderful mentors throughout my life that have shared their knowledge and their expertise with me. So it's a way to give back. Does everyone know what this is, the ARBA Standardized Showmanship Scorecard? Raise your hand if you know what that is. You've seen it, right? It's brilliant. I said earlier in a talk, it was one of the smartest things the ARBA ever did. Because Randy will tell you, back when he judged me in showmanship, for example, there were different methods of doing rabbit showmanship all over the country. And in fact, even in some states, there were differences between regions of the small state on how to do showmanship. And the ARBA said, enough of this inconsistency, we're going to create a standard, like how to judge, American Fuzzy Loft. Now there's how to judge showmanship. So it's brought showmanship to a consistent level, which is wonderful because now you can do showmanship at the ARBA convention. So you can be from Wyoming, you can be from Arizona, you can be from Florida, you can be from Massachusetts. You can be from Quebec. We've got kids from Eastern Canada now competing in youth contests. You can learn showmanship by one format and compete at the national level now at the conventions, and all basically are aiming towards the same thing. So, amazing. It's now we're all doing showmanship the same way instead of it backwards and forward and upside down. So here it is. We're going to go through this today. What I wish we had were copies of this for everyone to follow along with today. But it is online, arba.net/showmanship. And not only the rabbit scorecard will come up, but also the KV scorecard. So these are standardized versions for both species that the ARBA kind of oversees. And it's wonderful. Is that Leslie back there? Artisan? No? I'm sorry. I thought you were. Sorry. She's another one. She's a 4-H leader for many, many years. Her kids grew up in the hobby, and I think that people like that have been around a while, that saw the old times and the new times, like, this is like amazing. And it's been around for like 10 years now. I still talk about it like it's brand new. So we're going to go through every single one of these points in order, and I'm going to talk about the fine things, not the how to look at the mouth, how to look in the eyes. I expect you to know that. Okay, we're going to talk about some of these really specific words over here, especially in the right-hand column. Those are those words, those little motions that are going to set you over the edge. And then I'm going to add a few that I think that aren't on there that maybe should. So the first thing you do, and you get points for this, is posing your rabbit and your introduction. Every breed, there are how many breeds of rabbits, guys? 49, almost 50 breeds. And currently we have 5 body types. So every rabbit breed and every body type has a specific pose. And even within those compact breeds, right? Like, what are some compact breed examples, guys? What is it?
Lionhead.
Lionhead, excellent. What's another compact breed? Are Polish compact? Yes, Mini Rex, right? But if you put a Mini Rex next to a Lionhead, do they pose the same way? Not exactly. Yet they're both compact breeds. So it's really important that you know what your breed's pose should be. Because, they say first impressions. If I'm judging showmanship and the exhibitor has the rabbit just like sprawled out on the table, it's like a Lionhead but posed like a Himalayan. What am I thinking about that kid? Are they going to do very well? No. It may be only 5 points in that beginning, but I'll tell you what, it sets the tone for the rest of the showmanship routine. So figure out what your breed pose is. And if you're not sure, go to some shows, watch some judging, look on YouTube, ask questions, ask the breeders, ask wherever you got your rabbit, hey, show me how to pose this. And the other thing is picking a breed that the posing is relatively simple. If you want to do really well, I'm not saying you can't use a checker giant, okay? But how do checker giants pose? Kind of on their own, right? Running up and down the table. Imagine doing that on a little showmanship carpet square. It's hard, right? You can do it. I'm not saying you can't. But a Mini Rex or Polish would be a lot simpler. And this gets no points, but it's brilliant to pose with the left ear facing the judge from the get-go. Why is that? What's in the left ear? What's interesting about it? The tattoo. And what's one of the things you do during the ear check for showmanship? Read the tattoo, right? So if you've already got that left ear facing the judge, you're already set yourself up to not only not forget to do the tattoo, but to efficiently and fluently open the ear up and read the tattoo to the judge. Okay, so left ear to the judge, and then introducing yourself. Glow, smile. This girl, she's happy to be there, right? Who's judged showmanship in here? Randy has. Who else has judged it? Nobody? Okay, Randy, when you're judging showmanship, how many hours of work are you going to commit yourself to?
All day.
All day.
Yeah.
Okay? All day. Go to some of these shows. There's a show in El Centro, California. It's called Imperial County Fair. And there are like 300 showmanship kids. It's an all-day job. And I can't even do them one by one. There's just too many. I have to do in groups and waves and pick 2 that I think are the best of this group and then bring them back all for like a finale. Okay? It's exhausting. So if I see a kid come up there and they're all like grumpy and they're frowning and they look like they don't want to be there, you know what I want to say? I don't want to be here either. I'm hot. I'm thirsty. It's dusty in this old barn. Okay? So act like you want to be there. That and posing your rabbit, those are like the fine little finesse points that are going to take you far. And there's one thing in there that you need to do in the beginning. Let's say an introduction. And it's important. It doesn't have to be the dissertation. You don't have to read the national or sing the national anthem backwards. It's simple. Good morning, smile. My name is Kate Smith, and I am from the Hill Country 4-H Rabbit Club. I'm 14 years old and have been showing rabbits for 3 years. This is my chocolate Polish senior doe, Whiskers. Polish have compact body type. And then you might say, like, may I start my routine? Okay? It's simple. And anyone can memorize that. If you don't want to memorize something, I have a terrible memory, for example. But that you could make up in 20 different versions, and it would all sound the same, and it says, the same thing. Okay? So, posing your breed, figuring out what breed. What breed is this, by the way, that you can kind of see on the table? Himalayan, right? What's interesting about their body type? Cylindrical. And how many breeds have cylindrical body type? Only one. All right, so here's Josh Humphreys demonstrating for us how to pose a Himalayan. I didn't go through every single body type, but I just thought this video was kind of cool because it's just sleek and easy, right? Anyone have Himalayans here? Yeah? Are they a good showmanship rabbit? Yeah. Why? They're calm. Yeah, they're like one of the number one recommended rabbits to do showmanship, right? Yeah, they're chill, and look at that body type. Is that not easy just to slink it out, right? There's no yanking up the heads and making sure the ears are in place. No, just out like a tube. And this is one of the harder ones that also Randy has back here. What are they? You know what breed this is? Britannia Petite. Yeah, you got it. They are a little harder. I'm not saying don't use them in showmanship, but to get them to do that, it takes some practice and a rabbit that's been practiced with. You can't just go out there and expect to do this with a Britannia Petite that's never been worked with before.
If you're going to do showmanship with a petite, make sure it's one that you work with and that you
Every
know
day.
is going to sit there. Otherwise, all you're doing is chasing the rabbit around the table, and it doesn't look good.
It doesn't look good. It's about looking like going in there and looking like you've had the worst day in your life, or going in there with a feed sack on your head. It's just not conducive to doing well at showmanship. You want to go in there and you want to put your rabbit down and pose it effortlessly like that. That will get the judge's attention. Okay, now we're going to go through each of the body parts. And again, some of the finer points. And I've called them like the advanced motion and then some advanced terms to go along with it. We started earlier that start with your left ear facing the judge, right? Because you're going to read the tattoo. Look inside the ears. Don't just say, I'm checking the ears and like look off into outer space. Or be staring at the judge. I'm checking the ears for ear canker. Oh, really? You could have fooled me. You're not looking at it. I love it. I'll write that on some of the kids' scorecard. They go through and they've memorized this amazing routine. Never do they look at what they're doing. If it's showmanship, I'm sure your rabbit doesn't have ear canker, but you're trying to demonstrate this routine. So, put that into what you're doing. Like you're actually looking at it, okay? Ears are important in some breeds. Imagine what this breed is. Anyone want to take a guess? It could be a couple different breeds, but what? A Holland Lop. It is a Holland Lop, okay? But it could be a Fuzzy Lop. Their standard breeds the same for their ears. In terms of shape and substance and length and furring, if you raise these breeds and you're at the national level, there is a very intricate way to describe a good Holland Lop ear, and there's a lot of ways to describe a really bad Holland Lop ear, okay? If you're at advanced showmanship, you better be attuned to some of those things. So if you're using a Holland Lop and you're doing the ear routine of your showmanship, talk about the shape, that it should be rounded at the tips, that it should be well furred, that it should have substance. So some of those terms, thickness, that's substance, that's how much skin. If you ever felt a good French Lop ear, it feels like a leather belt. I mean, it's just really thick. And a good Holland Lop ear will be thick too, not as thick as a French Lop, but they should have some substance. Fur covering, that's how much fur is over the ears. We fault ears that have kind of this bald spot right here. It's very common to see like no fur growing in the ears, right? But you're at a Holland Lop in a national competition and you're like top of your game, you're going to have good fur covering. So a showman in advanced showmanship should be able to recognize that. And then every breed describes the ear shape. Holland Lops, they have to be round at their tips. Every breed's a little different. And if you are there with your rabbit, hopefully you've read your standard a bunch of times and you know exactly what those are supposed to say. Anyone in here raise a breed that ear length is important, such as it has a disqualification regarding? Netherland Dwarfs, anyone have those? No? Britannia Petite, Polish. Okay, what's interesting about this breed here? What breed is it? Can you kind of see? What breed is this? There's nothing like it in the world. Yes?
Oh, my English
An
lop.
English lop, exactly. And anyone know what their minimum ear length is? To compete, go ahead.
Is it 21 inches?
You got it. 21 inches from tip to tip. And this is Misako. She's working for her judge license, or she's now a judge. She's from Japan. We were at a show in Malaysia, and Ari, a judge from Indonesia, we were all together. And Ari from Indonesia is teaching Misako from Japan how to measure ears, and it's from tip to tip. So if you go up there and your rabbit is an English lop, you better know that minimum ear length is 21 inches, and how to demonstrate it. You don't have to demonstrate it. But during your ear routine, you might say, now I'm checking for ear canker, I'm checking for ear mites, I'm checking for tears and blemishes in the ear. And by the way, minimum ear length on an English lop is 21 inches. And if I was to measure them, I would take a yardstick like this and measure from tip to tip. Simple as that. And now, does that just like add, it's like the icing on the cake if you were judging showmanship. If someone said that, like, oh, the angels would be singing from heaven. And here Misako is again, just kind of demoing that. And I don't see a lot of English lop being used in showmanship. They're big rabbits, so they're a little bit more cumbersome to work with, but certainly a fun breed to do showmanship with because you can actually talk about some extra points and things. Eyes, there's a lot of things that can go wrong with an eye, okay? Advanced motion, open the eye completely. I'm not saying like open it like you could put a toothpick up there and hold the lids. No, not like that, but things can go wrong down here and up here. And if you don't gently open the eye larger than it normally would if the rabbit was just naturally sitting there, you might miss spots in these areas. Like if you raise Dutch, for example, or Holland lops, those breeds they tend to be prone to getting eye spot issues. And sometimes they're way down here. You've got to really open it up. If you want to impress your showmanship judge, give it a good open. Anyone see something wrong with this eye, for example? Yes?
It looks like it's blind.
It looks like it's blind because of this, right? This is actually called moon eye. And it's like an abscess within the eye. All right, and that's a disqualification. So some good advanced terms, moon eye. On the judging side of things, every breed, just like it has its own color or its own pose, every variety within each breed has a required eye color. Okay, most eye color is brown. Black rabbits have brown eyes. But then there's blue-gray. What's another color? What's another eye color in rabbits? There's 3 more. What do New Zealand white rabbits have for eyes? Yes?
Ruby eyes.
They have ruby eyes, okay? And what about a blue-eyed white Beverin? What color eyes do they have? Yeah. Brilliant blue, right? I wish my eyes were brilliant Beverin blue. And then the third eye color is called marble, which is like a speckling of different colors. It's only allowed in some breeds. But if you want to be on top of your game, you're going to know what your eye color is for your specific variety when you are doing showmanship. And mention it. I'm looking at my black Mini Rex right now. He should have brown eyes. And just add that after you've already said, I'm checking for moon eye, I'm checking for cataracts, I'm checking for conjunctivitis and weepiness. Here's some great eye colors. We talked about marbling. That's like the flecking of there's some orange and some blue and some black, and it's like a mottled color. That's going to be found in chinchilla varieties and chinchilla breeds. And then you have a brown eye here, which is actually kind of a faded brown eye, but it is brown. And then this one, it's not a very good picture, but it's blue-gray, okay? What color does this rabbit look like? Black, yeah, it's a black Havana with strange eyes. Black rabbits have what color eyes typically? Brown. And this one does not have, right? Brown eyes. Has this marbling in the eye, so it's a DQ. Another interesting eye problem are called inverted eyelids. You see them more in large breeds, like French lops tend to be more prone to it. An inverted eyelid, you'll actually look at the rabbit and it'll look like you can't see the eye because they're basically squinting. The inside of the eyelid is turned, or the outside of the eyelid is turned inward, and it's scratching against the surface of the eye. It's a terrible thing. I can't even imagine an animal having it, but it's a DQ. And this is a little video I made from a French lop breeder in Texas.
The fold here is turning in towards the eye and then scratching actually the surface of the eye. If we could get her to show that.
You see that you can't really even see the eye.
And then you want to close the eye. And what's your indication when you see a rabbit just sitting there that she might have a
Right here on the top. Because it's
So
going to
that's
fold
rippled?
in. It actually isn't straight. It's going to curve in.
And she doesn't open her eye.
When I notice them when I'm judging, it's because they oftentimes have a runny eye,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because it's irritating the eye, correct?
It'll keep, yeah.
Awesome.
So that's
And
Jenna, and she raises
it's-
French Laps in Texas, and she's done so for
It
decades.
can be hereditary if you don't watch it. It can be a genetic thing, but it's very common in French Laps.
Yep. Okay, so that's not on the showmanship form, but if you're showing French Lops and you've got one in showmanship and you're doing it, like if you mention inverted eyelids are an issue that this breed struggles with, I'm checking for that. Well, bonus points.
Totally.
They look really good. The nose, what do we typically look at when we look at the nose? It's like number one. Discharge, right? Yeah, that's the easy one. But guess what? There's other stuff that goes along with the nose. In agouti-colored rabbits, and some others too, like tan pattern, they actually have lacing around the nose that coincides with their color. That's required. So an advanced showmanship motion would be not only just checking for snuffles and signs of pastorella, but also checking to make sure that there's lacing along the nostrils if you're showing, say, an agouti or tan pattern variety. Some other varieties as well, too. But the nose, in many colors and many varieties of rabbits, is actually something that has a specific color. So it's not just health that we're looking at in showmanship, especially at the advanced level. You're going to look for things that are above and beyond the basics. Everyone can check for a stuffy nose, right? Everyone can see mucus coming out, okay? But not everyone's going to be able to say, I have a chinchilla dwarf, and they are supposed to have white nostril or white lacing along their nostrils. Teeth, again, easy, right? Everyone knows how to check teeth. Open the mouth, all right? That's easy. But if I'm the participant in showmanship and the judge is in front of me, okay, this is one of the common areas where I knock off points. The exhibitor looks at the teeth. They do a good job opening them. I can tell they're probably able to see the teeth, but they don't turn the rabbit so that the judge can see. All right? I often will mark off 1 point. Did not show judge. Did not show judge. Over and over again. Because it's easy to cover that up when you're doing showmanship. Make the extra effort to show the judge that the teeth on your rabbit are fine. Okay? There's two kinds of malocclusion. There's full-blown malocclusion, also called wolf teeth. That's when the bottom teeth protrude from the forward to the top teeth. And there's also something called simple malocclusion. The common name is peg teeth. And that's when the top teeth meet head-on with the bottom teeth. It's malocclusion. It's a disqualification. All right? It's not often what we think about when we think of malocclusion, but it is just as much of a DQ as the others. So in an advanced showmanship class, I would expect you to know what peg teeth are, what budding teeth are, and that simple malocclusion, kind of the textbook term, is not okay. And to demonstrate what it looks like, I often will use my hands. Put your rabbit down and take your hand and go like this. The top teeth meet the bottom teeth head on. Budding teeth, also known as simple malocclusion. Front feet and legs, one of my favorite topics. I don't know, I tended to be obsessed with bone. I have no idea why, but bone in rabbits, whether it's a Britannia Petite or a Holland Lop, defines their presence. A Holland Lop should be like a bulldog with very thick front legs and massive chest and just like a little bear. A Britannia Petite should be fine and elegant with long, slender legs. Still talking about bone, just different extreme ends of the bone spectrum. So when you're checking front feet and legs, that's oftentimes our first indication of bone. So if you go up there with one of those breeds that has points on bone, Britannia Petite, Holland Lop, French Lop, English Lop, Flemish Giant, Netherland Dwarf, Jersey Woolly, Fuzzy Lop, mention bone as you're talking about feet and legs. So this is Deb Sandoval. She is a 35-year veteran of the Holland Lop breed. She's going to talk about what bone means to her in her breed, the Holland Lop.
When I look at, and when I think about good bone on a Holland Lop, I'm looking at multiple dimensions of the bone. It's not just the width of the bone, which again, the fur adds a lot to, but it's also the length of the bone and the strength of the ankles, even though that isn't really the bone. I look at that in terms of, does the rabbit sit up on its feet, or does it bend at the pasterns and have weak ankles? That isn't technically part of bone, but it's part of the legs, which I add together.
Did you think we could describe feet and legs on rabbits that in depth, right? That's what a 35-year-old veteran to the Holland Lop breed, that's what she thinks about at night before she goes to bed. It's how to describe bone. It's not just checking to make sure that your rabbit has 5 nails in the front feet, the 5th being a dew claw. Okay, everyone knows what the dew claw is. I'm talking about the extra stuff. Okay, that mismatched toenails are a DQ. And we all know white toenails are, but so too are mismatched.
When I look at,
Here's a little clip on how Deb checks bone, and this is something you can do in showmanship. If you've got one of those bone breeds, how to demonstrate what bone is and what it looks
What do
like.
you call this? The narrowest point.
yeah, it's right.
She's
before-
feeling the front legs. That's important. You're not just saying my rabbit needs to have good bone. My rabbit needs to have good bone, and this is how I might check bone density and demonstrate with your hands as you're feeling the foreleg. We took a step farther. We've got calipers in this one. We did a little study in a judges conference. You're not going to go to showmanship with a caliper set, okay? But what I'm demonstrating is that this stuff is much more in depth than just saying my rabbit has good bone. You can actually say, at home, I measure bone with calipers, and I'm recording in a log the bone density on my rabbits to track it so I can improve it, all right? And know which breeds have points on bone. It's more than just a few.
So,
Checking the belly, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong here on the belly too. You know, typically we're checking for ruptures. The kids say they're checking for ruptures, tumors, and abscesses. All right, that's easy. Okay, but you also know that checking the belly also means on the scorecard checking under the jawline. Anyone have like an old nasty herd buck? Like an old French lop buck. They get really gross. Okay, because they're always rubbing on the J feeders and they're getting into things that they shouldn't. They get cut and they get an abscess. And then we often don't look at the jawline, but that is a really hot spot for abscesses. So when you're doing showmanship, don't just say I'm checking the belly for abscesses. Go a step farther and say I'm checking along the jawline for abscesses where they can often be hidden. Another excellent showmanship point to give you some extra points is when you check for a hernia. Does anyone know what a hernia is or where it would be found? What about in people? Where do you typically find a hernia in a human? Right there, right? Lower abdomen right here. So that's like in a rabbit, it's down in the crotch area, okay? The easy and like the common boring way to check for a hernia is to flip the rabbit on its back, and as you're going down the belly, say I'm checking for a hernia. Okay, but a hernia is actually a tear in the visceral lining of the belly, and then the intestine protruding through that visceral hole. All right? If you're on your back, what does gravity do? Pushes it back in. You will never feel a hernia, not never, but you're going to have a harder time feeling a hernia with a rabbit on its back. Yet that's typically where we check for belly in the showmanship, and hernia is one of those things you check for. Go a step farther, impress the judge. As you're checking the belly when the rabbit's on its back, flip it over and say, and now I'm going to run my hands under the abdomen and check for a hernia to ensure that gravity isn't, or it hadn't, kept that hernia from, showing itself, okay? Oh my gosh, when I get that, I'm just like, I purr. I literally purr during showmanship judging when a kid does that. It's really amazing. Mastitis. Do bucks or does get mastitis? What is mastitis? Infection of the mammary glands. So, I love this question. I always ask kids, I know they've got a buck in front of them, check your rabbit for mastitis. And they do. You don't check bucks for mastitis. They don't lactate, okay? So know that some diseases, some problems are specific to the sex of the rabbit. So a trick question, do not check for mastitis in bucks. And I'm going to show you this is really gross, but this is a really bad case of mastitis in a Californian. This is what it looks like. It's the infection of the mammary glands, and it has turned into a very painful situation. Hopefully, you would never bring a rabbit like this to showmanship. But this is what mastitis looks like in its worst form. And then it has to be treated with some antibiotics. It's totally fixable. My other rabbit was fine after it was looked at, but you can see there was some bleeding there. It's just not nice. We talked about front feet and legs, looking at bone, right, and length of limb and how thick it is. The back legs are also checked, called the rear feet and legs. There's two things going on in these pictures. First of all, the big glaring one are these, right? What is that? Sore hocks, okay? Advanced showmanship, it's a disqualification for sore hocks in the ARBA if they're bleeding. If they're not, it's not a DQ. So there's actually a difference between these sore hocks. As awful as that looks, I would have a hard time passing it, to be honest with you, but this version down here is bloody. This one's not. So if you want to talk about sore hocks in your showmanship routine, say, I'm checking for sore hocks. If they were bleeding, it would be a disqualification according to the ARBA standard of perfection. If they weren't bleeding, so they were just worn foot pads. This is more than just worn foot pads, by the way, but worn foot pads are not a DQ. So if you flip over an old rabbit and it's like, skin with no fur, that's not a DQ unless it's bleeding. The other thing that's going on, a structural thing. Yes, go ahead.
I just have a quick question.
Uh-huh.
Do you get DQ'd if there's if your rabbit has a little cut on its hawk?
So the question is it a DQ if your rabbit has a cut on the hawk?
Yeah.
A cut from...
If you clip the cage or something, he cut his
No, I mean, I think the visually, a cut that happened that day by an accident is totally different than a hawk that's been sore for a long period of time that's been sitting on wire. That looks different than a simple cut. A simple cut's going to be small, it's going to be clean. A sore hawk is something that's happened over time, it's worn down, the fur is going to be worn down around it. You're going to get callousing and dead skin built up around it too, okay? So it's different. Could it be DQ'd? No, essentially, but probably not going to be DQ'd, okay? Because it's going to be understood by the judge. Judges are experts. They've been suing this stuff for a long time, so they're able to see the difference. We look at the back feet and legs for structure. These are awful looking feet, by the way, okay? They're not good, but there's something really good going on about them. See how parallel they are? The back legs are in line with each other. They're not going like this. If we had back legs that naturally sat like this, you know what we would call that? There's a term, it's a DQ as well. Cowhocked. A lesser extreme version of that would be pinched. Okay, when the back legs are narrow and not parallel to each other. These are beautiful back legs. Unfortunately, they have really bad sore hocks or worn down hocks, but parallel back legs, that's a structural thing. Mention that when you're checking back legs during showmanship. And we'll go back into that in a second, but one of the advanced differences between showmanship for younger kids versus older is that younger kids are able to identify problems. Older advanced kids in showmanship will identify problems and offer solutions. So you can say, I'm checking for sore hocks. If my rabbit had sore hocks, I would put a topical antibiotic like Neosporin on top of the sore hawk. I would take the rabbit off of wire and put it on straw or clean bedding so that it would heal. Does that make sense? So younger kids are able to identify problems. Older advanced kids offer solutions. Because at that point, you should be able to know that as a rabbit breeder, that what you do for sore hawks. Here's some video of, we call it tracking. This is a checker giant, but see, I'm looking at the movement of the rabbit down the table. Just like those feet in that hawk picture were parallel, we check parallel hawks by observation in running breeds, by watching them move on the table. And some of those breeds are judged differently than others. And here's another clip of that. But if you've ever seen checker giants or tans or Rhinelanders judged, the judge lets the animal go on the table and then steps back for a second and takes a look at how those placements are. If the feet were pinched or cowhocked, the rabbit would literally run down the table like this. If they were made like the sore hawk picture, they would move down the table like this. So tracking, if you're showing a full arch breed in showmanship, talk about tracking. This is the placement and the view of the back legs. Okay, sex, another thing that a lot of kids don't like to talk about. You know, like, oh God, I gotta say the word penis. Yes, you have to say the word penis, okay? Get over it. Especially if you're in advanced showmanship. Like, you're like a little scientist. You are about ready to go to college. I mean, you are that age. Some of you kids are going to go on and go to vet school. You're going to study animal science. Say those terms. Impress the judge. Don't go, the boy parts, you know, the butt parts. No. Go and say it and be proud of it, okay? So, advanced motion. You say the sex. The sex of my rabbit is a buck. Don't say male. Don't say boy. Don't say girl. Use terminology that's specific to rabbits. Buck, doe. Okay? You know what this is, this picture here? You ever heard of a split penis? It's on the showmanship scorecard. It's a DQ in bucks. It's when there's literally a split from, or a good portion of the length of the penis. It looks like you cut it, right? That's a DQ. And it's very heritable, and something that we, as judges, look for. We have to, when we check the sex of a rabbit during judging, we sex the rabbit thoroughly. It's not just simply enough to see that it's a male or a buck. We extend the penis fully. This is another thing I write on Showmanship scorecards a lot. Did not extend penis fully. Okay? Because if you don't see things like this. You miss DQs. So an advanced move in checking the sex on your rabbit during showmanship is extending the penis, and just like checking the teeth and showing the judge, sex the rabbit and make sure that the judge can see what you're doing, so they can see that you've taken that extra step to be more thorough and meticulous. Bucks also have what? Yes, testicles, okay? And how many should they have? 2. Rabbits over 6 months old have to show 2, okay? If they don't, it's a DQ. If they show 1, it's a DQ. If they show none, it's a DQ. So, rabbits are fluffy, right? Sometimes you don't see the testicles. You've got to blow into the fur around the penis to see those testicles. So blowing into the fur and mentioning, now I'm blowing into the fur, and that's kind of hard to show the judge, but say it, I'm blowing into the fur to check for 2 descended testicles. So advanced terms, split penis, descended testicles, and intermediates or seniors. Those are rabbits that are over 6 months old and here be a DQ. This is a great example of what would be really easy to look for, right? Those are English lops, and those are easy to find testicles. Most rabbits you have to really check for them and blow into the fur. This was an extreme, I was so excited. I took this picture like 12 years ago, and I was so excited I finally got to use it because it was a very strange picture. But, well, that's what you're supposed to look for, okay? I couldn't find, when I'm judging, I take a lot of photos because I'm like logging things away in my archives. Problem is I don't go home and then archive my archive, so I'm sure I have like 13 bobtail pictures in my phone, but I couldn't find any last night when I was putting together the slide. But there's a breed of cat that has a tail like this. It's called a Manx, right? I think. So a short tail in rabbits is a DQ, and believe it or not, you'll find rabbits with little stub tails. Whether the mom ate it off when the baby was in the nest box, or whether it was genetically born that way, we don't know. We're not fortune tellers as judges, but both equate in a short tail called a bobtail, and that's a DQ. So a couple ways to check the tail is to extend it out with your fingers as the rabbit's on its back, by the way. I like to see a showmanship exhibitor checking the bones, because the tail is the extension of what? We don't have one, but we have this other part. Yes.
Is it the backbone?
Yeah, the spine, the backbone. The tail is the extension of the spine. So by feeling it, you're gonna feel little tiny vertebrae or little bones. Okay, and if I see a showmanship kid like actually making the motions as if they're feeling each vertebra, that's excellent. Okay, that's when the rabbit's on its back. Flip the rabbit back over, just like checking the hernia in the belly and flipping the rabbit back over and looking for a natural movement. Make an effort to pull the tail out, straight out, and let it go. And see that it goes back to its original position. If it's an extension of the spine, it should be parallel to the spine, right? That means that the tail and the back line up. It's a DQ if you pull the tail gently, by the way. We're not talking about like yanking the tail off. We're just gently pulling the tail to watch how it moves. And if it goes back to a position like this or like this, what is that called? It's called wry tail, W-R-Y. Okay, it's a DQ. So check the tail when the rabbit's on its back by feeling the vertebra, looking at the length, putting the rabbit in its natural position, gently pulling the tail out and letting it go, and checking to see if the tail moves back to its original position. By the way, when you're feeling the bones of the tail and you feel like a hook, like it's fused a certain way, okay, that's called a screw tail. Literally, like it's fused, maybe it broke or whatever, and the vertebrae are curved. That's also a DQ. So feeling those bones, that's actually what you're feeling for. You're feeling for that DQ to make sure that the vertebrae are in line. And then to make it even more complicated, because a lot of things can go wrong with the tail, a dead tail. That's when a tail has lost circulation. Would you believe that that's not a DQ? Okay? Because oftentimes a dead tail will be in line with the spine. If you pull it, it goes back to its original position. It just has no circulation. The bones are perfectly in line. They're not broken. There's no fusion of bones in the wrong way. So a dead tail is not a DQ. Excellent advanced showmanship question. Is dead tail a DQ? Sure sounds like a DQ, doesn't it? Sounds like a terrible thing. No, you have a dead tail. Of course you're DQ'd. No, it's not a DQ. So it's a good extra little thing to know. Fur and wool, we call it fur here, but if you have an Angora breed or a breed that grows wool, like a Lionette, a Jersey Woolly, or a Fuzzy Lop, measurement of length is important. Some breeds of rabbits have minimum fur length, some have maximum fur length, some have both. You need to know what those differences are, and those are all outlined in your breed standards. Some breeds have flyback fur. What's the difference between flyback and rollback? Which one's faster if you were to stroke it? Yes.
Fly back.
Flyback, yeah, because it flies back, easy. If it rolls back, it's going to gently roll back to its original position. And again, every breed standard, every breed has a specific kind of fur. So you need to know that and how to demonstrate it. Some really advanced terms that you can throw in there when you're checking for guard hairs. Those are the longer, coarser hairs that are interspersed amongst the softer undercoat. Guard hairs give fur its ability to return. Guard hairs are coarser, so therefore they're stronger. And they protect that protective layer of the undercoat. Another one, checking density. That's how many hairs per given area. Okay, density in most breeds is a good thing, especially in wool breeds. The more wool you grow, the more efficient you're going to be. If you're raising Angora rabbit wool on a commercial level, that means more money, right? So density equates to more fur, more wool, and more money. Also uniformity. Rabbits that are in good condition will have the same fur growing all over their body, whether it's the nape of their neck or the base of their tail. So uniformity says condition. These are all excellent words to throw in there in advanced showmanship. This is Misako working under Josh Humphreys this summer, and she's looking at a Silver Martin, and she's checking
Has better texture, better
evenness of coat, texture. Okay, see how she stroked the fur against the grain? She went from the base of the tail up over the back towards the neck, and she was evaluating the quickness or the flyback of the fur. Okay, one of the last portions of the scorecard is called the judging comments. And it's, even though this judging showmanship scorecard has been around a while, it's 15 points that a lot of kids totally miss. And they can do a great job at showmanship, and they forget about this last point, where they have to give subjective or their own opinions about the rabbit that they've brought to showmanship. So they're going to compare it to the standard and say, like, my rabbit is a Holland Lop. She has a big, broad head. She has a short shoulder, but she's a little pinched in her hindquarters. Those are judging comments. Very brief, but they forget to do any of that, and it's a negative 15 points right away. So therefore, you go in there with an 85. We're talking if you're going to go to convention or you're going to be the top of your county fair or your local fair, 85 ain't going to cut it, right? You've got to be like 99, 100, or looking for extra points because the kids are that good. Don't forget this very last point. It's one of the last things you do. You say, after you finish your looking at, what was the last slide we looked at? Fur. After you get done analyzing fur, step back and say, now I'm going to give judging comments on my rabbit. And that's where you pretend like you're an ARBA judge. So a good set of comments, right? Depth of body is important for my breed. My buck shows good depth over the shoulders and midsection, but shows a high point, that's this right here, the highest point of the body, that is too far forward. So what have I done in that statement? Have I said my rabbit is the most amazing rabbit on the planet? No. No. By saying it like this, you're very honest. Because no rabbit is perfect. You can ask the best judges in the whole country that travel every weekend around the world. We're all seeking that perfect rabbit, okay? No one has ever seen it. So when you're doing showmanship at the fair, don't say, my rabbit is amazing in body type, has the best fur, the texture is to die for, and she can jump through fire backwards. That's about what you've said when you said your rabbit's perfect, okay? Be objective. That's be honest. And it goes a long way. It's okay if you go in there in showmanship and have a less than perfect rabbit. That's the beauty of showmanship. It's not about the rabbit. It's about your abilities. Does that make sense? You know, when I did showmanship when I was a kid, I had a Holland Lop with ears sticking straight out of its head. Okay, it was more like a Holland Up than a Holland Lop. All right, it was not winning best in show, everybody. But it was my showmanship rabbit. And I made a great conversation piece when I talked about the ears. This is my Holland Lop, and its ears are not lopping, okay? It's a DQ. So give positive and negative feedback. And another advanced tip, you see judges doing this, right? They step back from the table. Because if you're hovering over a rabbit when you're judging it, you miss things. But if you step back and get the big picture, you see a lot more. Make that move. Just pose your rabbit and step back as you're giving those comments. That looks great. That's like going into showmanship in your routine and smiling and looking happy like you're ready to be there. This, you're finishing and you're showing the judge what a professional you are. And I've talked about smiling like 3 times, right? This is Andrew. He's from Orange County. He does not have a rabbit in his hand, but he's showing his replacement heifer at the Orange County Fair. And does he not look like he wants to be there? Yeah, he's smiling. He's happy to participate in showmanship that day. It may have been 115 degrees. He may have shown his heifer at 9 a.m. He may have been stepped on the heifer by 9:15. He may be limping by the time he leaves the ring, and then he's got to do rabbit showmanship in the afternoon. But I'll tell you what, when he goes into the rabbit show ring with his showmanship routine, he is not acting like any of that bad stuff happened in that morning. Right? He's looking like he's happy to be there. So be gracious. In the very end, after you've done your comments, say, thank you, Judge. You can say just Judge. You don't know their name. Sometimes you do. If you do, great. If you don't, say, thank you, Judge, for your time. And finish by saying, is there anything else that you would like me to demonstrate today? That leaves it open. That leaves it up to the judge. There's none of that awkward, like, okay, am I done? Do I just walk away from the judge now? Or is he going to ask me another question? That puts you in control, and it's a nice, fluid way to finish your routine. Is there anything else I can demonstrate today? Thank you for being here. Smile, of course, right? So, and the last thing, read your show catalog. Every fair, every event, whether it's convention, a big regional show, wherever showmanship is being, is a competition, there's a rule book that goes along with it. And every rule book will oftentimes spell out the dress, like what you should wear. Okay, in California, I'm gonna make fun of Andrew, we wear these really goofy hats, okay? It's really goofy. It's a felt hat. The kids lose them all the time. But in the fair catalog, it spells out that they should be wearing this hat, okay? They should be wearing a tie. It should be tucked in. They should be wearing long sleeve, and they should be white. It's that specific. I don't know how specific it is out here, but when I judge in other parts of the country, I'll be like, I don't think that they're, they don't look like Californians. So I've got to either look at the book or I talk to the show superintendent and say, hey, what is the proper attire? Because one of the last things you get points on is how you look. And following rules and being part of that standardized attire will get you points or lose you points. In California, if you show up and you've got short sleeves, or if you have hair coming out of here, or you're chewing on gum, okay, or you're not wearing a belt, those things will get you points docked off. And again, if you want to be winning in this kind of advanced showmanship routine, you got to come dress the part and know your rules. The fair catalogs have those guidelines. And the ARBA, if you're going to go to Harrisburg to the convention later this year in October and compete in showmanship, there's a certain way to look for rabbit showmanship. I think it's a white show coat. You're professional. You're clean. You're not going to have rabbit poop all over you. It doesn't look like you've been cleaning trays all morning long, right? Dress the part. Knowledge is also one of the last things. And I could talk for 3 weeks on what you could possibly study for, but I can't. There's just way too much that you could possibly know. You got to know your breed. In younger kids, you got to know at least that your breed is this certain body type. A senior and junior is. But as you get older into these groups, I started this talk by saying these older advanced kids, I judge them as if they were studying for a registrar or judge license. So getting that registrar study guide, definitely having, like everyone should be owning one of these. The ARBA Standard of Perfection, I bet the vendor's selling them out there today. You can buy them online, arba.net. They're $20 or $23. It's got everything you need to know about what your rabbit should look like. You've got to own this if you're going to study for showmanship. Absolutely have this before even the registrar study guide. Older kids should be more familiar with breeds other than their own, have kind of a general idea about what other breeds should look like. Like I said, like they're studying for a registrar's license. Create a study group. This is in Indonesia this summer. These 2 guys were both taking their ARBA registrar's license or tests, and we sat all night long and had a group study session in my hotel room, and we studied the standard and went through every single breed together. Get together with your friends. Make this a group event. Piggyback and double it and say, all right, we're going to kick butt at rabbit showmanship, and we're going to get our registrar's licenses. You want to be really good at showmanship? Just say, I'm going to study for my registrar's license. You can do it. A lot of kids are getting their licenses at 13, 14, 15 years old. ARBA does not say you have to be a certain age to get your license. We have some judges that are licensed at 16, 17 and they're traveling and doing this, and then it's a great college job too. So start now, just double it. Learn showmanship, master showmanship, and get a license that will actually make you some money and take you to some cool places around the world. And I talked about this earlier, you know, older kids, I'm sorry you can't really see that, but older kids need to be able to identify, I keep saying older, but I mean advanced showmanship, need to be able to identify problems like ear mites, sore hocks, bad teeth, fur mites, and then offer a solution. So I'm checking for fur mites as you're blowing in the fur. If my rabbit had fur mites, I would give ivermectin. Simple. You don't have to say the dosage, where to buy it, and it's not even approved for rabbits. You don't have to do that. But if you offer a solution, man, it's just like, oh, this exhibitor knows how to identify it, and they know how to manage. And those are big things. So here's some great resources. This is the Standard of Perfection, that book I held up. Gotta own that. Second of all, you should be buying this Registrar Study Guide. It's got like 600 or 700 questions in it that are all about how rabbits should look, about DQs, what's recognized, what's not. And it's geared towards adults and kids who are gonna go for a registrar's license. But it's all applicable to showmanship as well. And the other thing, if you are not a member of the ARBA, what are you waiting for? Okay, ARBA.net, that's the American Rabbit Breeders Association. Oftentimes 4-H and ARBA do their own little things on the other side. And guess what? Today's conference, this was a 4-H conference, the ARBA, if the ARBA could see this, which they are because we put this online, they should be so proud that this workshop goes on for year after year for 39 years. What you have today, this 4-H deal, there was talks on physiology, anatomy, how to build cages, right? How to identify things and take care of your rabbits in all levels. Plus the stuff we talked about with showmanship and fairs and lots of stuff. Like, this is really cool, okay? But you should be members of the ARBA. Youth memberships are cheap. They're like $15. You get every 2 months this magazine called the Mesick Rabbits magazine. It's a full color, 60 to 80 page magazine that's got news about what's going on in rabbits, stuff you're reading about on Facebook, but more in depth, okay? You're getting 3 to 5 unique educational columns written by veterinarians, top judges, top breeders, and they're talking about the nitty-gritty. You want to be an advanced showman? Get this every 2 months and read it. That will prep you and give you so much more to add to your showmanship routine that the average exhibitor is just not going to have. So you can become a member by going to arba.net. They're going to send you this every 2 months. You also get a guidebook on how to raise rabbits. The stuff that you get in your very first year is worth more than the actual cost of membership. Isn't that crazy? You only get the guidebook once. So after that point, the ARBA starts making a little money off you. But otherwise, the first year, it's a no-brainer. And I talked about the Facebook page that I moderate, which this showmanship talk will be on forever and ever. It's called The Rabbit Show Live. So facebook.com/The Rabbit Show Live. And we've got tons of educational videos. I haven't done as many as I did earlier this year, but I've been really busy, and videos take a long time. But these live feeds are great because I can just pop them up right away, and they're good to go. Okay, and you can share it with all your friends. So like us on Facebook and follow us, and then check out. We got like, I don't know how many videos, dozens of videos up there already. Anyone have any questions? That was a lot, and I know I didn't really give you guys a word in edgewise. No, that's a lot. But like I said, it's on Facebook. You can check it out. I hope that what you get out of this today is, if you're going to be successful at showmanship, first of all, you don't have to have a great rabbit. You don't have to dump thousands of dollars into a perfect rabbit. Okay, you don't even really have to dump thousands of dollars into yourself. Get a couple of these resources, study, be passionate about this hobby, which you already are, and you can win your fair, you can win a convention and not have to spend a ton of money and feel really good about it. It looks great on a resume. Can you imagine on your college application or a job application that you were the rabbit queen one year? Can you imagine? Yeah, I was rabbit king one year. I put that on there. It's a great talking point. Like, they ask you questions, and suddenly you're talking about something you love, and you're a lot more relatable when you're able to talk about a passion like that. Not a lot of people have passion, especially young people. They get into their computer or whatever, and this is something totally different that everyone appreciates when they hear your story. Okay, so you can do it, and rabbit showmanship is the way to do it. I love it. Any other questions? No? All right, well, thanks for coming, guys. Have a safe trip home wherever you're going in New England today. And good luck.